Alright guys, HyDra again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Big roster news developing overnight. It is 2 weeks today precisely until the new Modern Warfare 3 title comes out, and we still have 3 teams that won't tell us what they're up to at the moment, but the players will give us some good idea. We know that there's some big names next year starting in challenges, and TJHaLy and others are going to be joining that list. Potentially good news for Pred, given his record against TJ the last couple of years, but what is the future of TJ given this announcement? Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. First of all, thought this is pretty cool actually. Yesterday they did the Zoomer Parasite tournament they did with subscribers and stuff. Now Snoopy got involved with this, of course, upcoming player for the Boston Breach. He played for Boston at the World Championship this last year, did pretty well all things considered, especially because, you know, he was thrown into the gauntlet against OpTic in that very first round. But he's going to be on the Boston starting team for the new season. Lots of promise for this player, and yeah, he was actually allowed to play in this tournament yesterday. And as Parasite says, okay, maybe I shouldn't have let you play, you're too good. But yeah, 4v4, $3,200 draft tourney champs to Zoom and Parasite. So really cool initiative, and congrats to the winners for sure. And as Parasite says, great job putting all this on. There was also this that I saw from OpTic Gaming yesterday, another inner circle. The last time they did this, you guys might remember, was the Dynasty one, right? So, and you know, quite often when they do these teaser pitches, it takes quite some time for the actual thing to be released. But still, it's a pretty cool image. Now, this is called the Hex Quarters Edition, so I was thinking that it was going to be, you know, I thought Dashy was going to be here for sure. I don't think it is Dashy. I believe it's probably because he's back in Canada. Maybe he's not. I'm not really sure. But yeah, I thought they might have got Dashy involved in this one. We've got Scump, we've got Formal, we've got Hex. I think we've got, well, this is obviously Karma. Now, I think they've got like Matty, Craig, and Hitchin to get this done. To be honest, initially I thought this was Rambo, and I thought it was going to be Rambo and Dashy, and I was like, oh my god, here we go. Finally, some stories are going to be told, but I don't think that's the case. I think they're doing it with those guys I just mentioned. But yeah, maybe we'll have another kind of, well, story, I guess, chapter to the story on the Rambo Dashy stuff in due course. And of course, when Surge play OpTic next year, it's going to be rather interesting. But going into the new season, lots of people are wondering, what are these teams going to do? We've had some rumors, right, for some time about Carolina and about Vegas Legion, but Los Angeles Grillers, we have really no clue. But the challenger teams will often make their decision based on what's going on in the Pro League, and the challenger teams are usually quite willing to make that stuff public, because then you start to see, right, we want to sign this guy, we want to sign this guy. That's how they're going to make it work. Now, Donny Temp, there was lots of talk about Temp really, because going into the new year, we expected that he might get an offer from somewhere, but he'd made the point known a while ago that he would maybe prefer to start in challenges, prove that he's the absolute best to do it down there, and then kind of wait for an opportunity on a better team rather than having to play for a team for the minimum again that isn't really going to do anything special. So Vegas have potentially decided not to keep Temp on anyway, and they're going to go a different route. So Temp had confirmed the other day he's going to be starting in challenges alongside some very, well, initially I think it was maybe Gwyn, Neptune, and GodRx. But now I'm wondering whether, you know, it's definitely possible that a player like Neptune or GodRx or even Gwyn or even Temp really could have been signed by a pro team. I don't think that's the case yet for Temp, but I definitely think it's possible with that team that could be the case, but no massive update on that yet. Now, yesterday, Mohawk confirmed. So Mohawk back at it again. You know, I feel kind of bad for Mohawk, right? Because we know that he had an offer, we think at least, probably from Vegas, and maybe a couple of offers that he actually turned down over the last couple of years when his stock was kind of at an all-time high. Look, he won back-to-back Challengers World Championships and wasn't signed into the Pro League, which just makes you think that, you know, it doesn't really make much sense, right, when you got the best player in Challengers, really, at least done it for a couple of years in a row, didn't get signed, lots of talk that he should have been, but then again, last year, most recent season, didn't do so well. So now it's like, well, is he as good as he was before? Should he have turned down the offer when he got the opportunity? Arguably not, and this is what Octane said, it's like, look, if you get a CDL offer, you take the CDL offer, especially the way things are now, given this might be the final year of the CDL as we presently know it. I think there's a very good chance that next year is a very different story, and, you know, while the money is there, you probably want to get it banked. Not that Mohawk was necessarily to have known it at the time. So he's going to play with Cryptic and also with Fire for the upcoming season. That's a team of 3, and we also got to wonder what Clace is up to. I thought this is a beautiful graphic here that Kimchi put together a while ago of potential rosters, but yeah, we're pretty clear where he's going to go, and it's going to be what used to be the Royal Ravens, and now it's going to be the Carolina Royal Ravens. His teammates, though, are very much unknown. I will just mention this that I saw quickly. This guy, Danny, happens happened to play a Val game up against Priestahh, who was playing off-stream with Standy, Studdy, Saint, and Nameless. So, of course, we know that Studdy and Nameless get on very well. Brian Saint, of course, is the general manager, head coach for the Carolina Royal Ravens, and Standy has played, well, Val with Clay for some time. And the theory was that they'd probably go as a team of two there. But apparently Stanley's going to go to Vegas, but that was the case before the Mac situation. And now that Mac has stepped away, there was other possibilities. And I did wonder whether other players potentially from the former Vegas Legion team could then step up to the plate in that way. TJ was one of those players. The other day, of course, we saw them having a bit of fun joking around about the fact that TJ's record against Pred all time when Pred was on Surge for the last couple of years and TJ was on Boston and then Vegas is 6-0. Right? He's beaten Pred every single time that he's played him. And this year, that was the point. Okay, TJ, maybe if he gets signed somewhere, that's going to be an issue for Pred and this new OpTic team that on paper looks very good. However, that's not going to be the case for too much longer with TJ, with Spart confirming that this is going to be a team of three. Spart, TJ, Prolute looking for a main AR to lock in with for the upcoming season. So this is kind of crazy, right? Spart, of course, a player that was on the Los Angeles Guerrillas substitute bench. He came in for that one event, really, in Major 2 Vanguard when Gunless was unwell. Spart had to come in. The Volk was the meta at the time. And honestly, I think that team was really good even without the Volk, just to that specific event, because their Search and Destroy was next level. It wasn't just Volk-induced. I think it was maybe partly Volk-induced. I feel like it's kind of unfortunate for Spart, though, because after that event, the Volk then disappeared. Their Search and Destroy, they weren't winning every search in the world like they were during Major 2, which was, impossible to maintain. And then kind of people thought, oh, Spart, just a Volk merchant, and there's nothing to it. I think there was a bit more to it than that. I don't think that's a completely fair way of looking at it, but then again, it's the same story as we saw back in Black Ops 4 with Luminosity Gaming when they won Major, well, it's Fort Worth Major or whatever it was called, CWL Fort Worth, back in 2019, when the Rampart was the meta and Classic used it to great effect, and then, after the Rampart was then gone for the meta, it wasn't quite the same story, so it always happens, but yeah, as a result of that, Spart's now found himself out of the league, and to be fair, he had his chances further on in the season, didn't really work out. Prolute was on OpTic last year, and, well, okay, Vanguard, and then last year, its most recent season was on Vegas, right? And this is what we say about Vegas being the death knell to some players' careers. If you're on Legion, it's very rare that you survive too long in the Pro League, as unfortunate as that is, but the stats honestly speak for themselves. The only one that I can really think of is Kismet, to be honest, who's made it out of the curse. Like, he was on this team during the Paris Legion days of Modern Warfare 2019. He was forced out of the league for a couple of seasons, and then he made his way back into the Subliners, and I was won the World Championship. So Kismet started, that's even more admirable what he's achieved, because he started on the Legion at the start of the CDL. The other player, I guess, is Clay, really, and also Temp to some extent, who has been there year on year. But last year, the team was Clay. Okay, Prolute was there at the start. 2Real came in. Standy, of course, I guess he's going to get a spot back in the league. So it doesn't always happen, but in the vast majority of cases, it's not too long after you've competed on Legion when, you're no longer getting a spot in the CDL. Because where do you go from Legion? Like, if Legion doesn't go well, who's going to sign you from there? It's difficult, unless you're a guy like Priestahh, who's going to get signed anyway. So Prolute's back to challenges. TJ is back to challenges. Now, TJ was in challenges before, a couple of years ago. During the Black Ops Cold War season, he was kind of forced to step down there for a while, but then afterwards, he did get a good opportunity to return to the league. This was after, you guys can't kind of fully see all the years and stuff on the left-hand side, but you kind of get the picture if I zoom in somewhat, that, here we go. So the Cold War season started on Los Angeles Thieves, played a few majors, didn't do so well. It was eventually ousted from the team, and then in July, he played a couple of the Challengers Cups with teams such as Brack, Jerd, Slacked, and TJ. He actually played with Methods down there as well after Methods was dropped from the Toronto Ultra in place of Insight. And then both of those players made it back into the league on Boston going into the new season. So, they stepped down to Challengers for a while, but the results here were, okay, see if I can kind of just about get this on screen. They were not pretty at all. I mean, let's just have a look at them on the left-hand side. You guys can just about make it out. 5th, 6th, top 12, 6th, top 16. Nothing impressive, and it was difficult down there. They kind of struggled in challenges for that time, but they still had the reputation that when the league started up again, they were getting back into the league. And TJ still, is a good asset in Search and Destroy, there's no doubt. I have my questions about TJ in the respawn mode. I think a lot of people do, no doubt. He's been around such a long time, since his debut in COD when he was 15 in Advanced Warfare, going as Toast or whatever he used to go as on the like Stutter Esports days, all the way back then, and still today, very valuable Search and Destroy player, I still think. But if it is going to work with TJ, you need another SMG that can actually put up numbers, and that's kind of what Stanley was brought in to do, what Prolute couldn't really do, and what Two Wheeled couldn't do either. So this is the risk with, if you do sign TJ, that you need to ensure that your other SMG is, you know, very competent in terms of putting up numbers, and maybe that's not so easy to accomplish, and therefore TJ finds himself out of the league. I mean, yeah, I'm not surprised that Vegas aren't getting him back. I'm interested to see what Carolina do, but there is still one more team in Los Angeles Guerrillas, and this is the thing that we just don't know what they're up to. But I'm sure some of the players must have some idea what they're up to, unless they're thinking, you know what, they've taken way too long. We've got to just lock in a team. Usually, the challenger teams form once the pro teams have been decided. But because Los Angeles Guerrillas, and maybe others as well, are taking so long doing nothing, the challengers players and the rest of the guys might just think, you know what, it's worth just making a team now, and then if one of us does get poached away, then so be it. So I definitely think it's still possible that some of the players we've mentioned here do eventually get brought up, and, you know, especially with the very unfortunate Max situation that he's stepping away from the near future, you know, there's a role there on the Vegas Legion team alongside what was meant to be, you know, Standy and Attach and Purge that needs to be filled, and I wonder what's going to happen there. So what next for TJ and also players such as Donnie Temp and others, you know, big names, right? Like, these are major, like, players, you know, obviously event winners, at least in some events in Call of Duty history, that are being forced to start in the challenger side. Some players, you know, when this happened to Crim, obviously, you know, different kind of caliber, but, you know, when Crim couldn't really find a spot for various reasons, obviously you just call it a day, which was the correct decision. But, you know, TJ and Temp still think they've got a lot of gas left in the tank, but there aren't that many spots in the league, and they're going to commit to the challengers grind to try and make their way back in. As we said, Methods and TJ, they did it successfully a couple of years ago, despite not having good results in challenges. Can they do the same this time around? I think they'll need to get better results to make that happen in the first place, and they'll need to maintain their relationships with the players on the, you know, the actual pro teams as best as they possibly can. So yeah, big roster news really, these type of players starting in tier 2. And my big question is, to be honest, what happens next year when it comes around to the CDL either not existing anymore or the next step? What happens to the contract? What is the next step from this league? Because maybe it's not the end of the world starting in challenges if everyone's going to be wiped off their roster going into the new season. But clearly the intention for these players is to get signed somewhere mid-season, but which teams would make a change and do that? That's a matter for debate in the comments below. So very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.